Hi there, Michelle here up on the Butterfly Hill. Today we're going to go over canning, and it's a big subject, but I did want to touch on a couple of things and hopefully give you a good understanding. Anybody who knows me knows that I have a jar thing, and here I have an example of the jars that I was able to find this year. And you want some large jars for bulk canning, and a good example of that is a giant zucchini. I was able, one big zucchini that a friend of mine grew, I was able to make 5 jars. So you do want some bulk, and this is beautiful. This is very simply done, nothing but the vegetable put into the jar, so that when you do bring it out, you can spice it for whatever dish you're going to do. And this is one of the best examples of canning. It's just a straight vegetable in some filtered water. All right, here's another example. These are the orange flame tomatoes that we grew here on the Butterfly Hill this year, and they're simply sliced up and put into the jar, so no matter what we use them for, when we bring them out, they can go with the flavor of the meal. So I do like to can a lot of things very, very simply. But other times, like today, we are making salsa. We have a gorgeous salsa here, which is the corn salsa that we made. And in the boil right now, for its 10 minutes, is the pineapple salsa we made. Also some leftover corn and some leftover garlic and onions. Again, if you're going to get into this, I would highly recommend getting a bunch of various jars. If you're going to go into homesteading and you're looking at possibly doing a model like we are, then I would highly recommend starting with some small jars, so you have a lot of samples available when you are going to be doing your marketing, which is a really good thing. Here you can see, whenever you get new jars, you want to take them out, you want to get them washed, cleaned, and sterilized. When you do sterilize jars, you want to sterilize for a full 2 minutes. You can see here that I've got all of my lids and my rings separate. Now, this is a big deal. I killed all of my lids in the beginning. Sterilization is a little important to me, and I went ahead and I boiled everything for 2 minutes in the beginning. If you boil your lids for 2 minutes, you're gonna kill them. They're never gonna pop. And the pop is what we're looking for when you're canning. We'll get into that later. All right, so I've got everything set aside here, and one of the most important things that my aunt, who is a chef, taught me when canning, and my grandmothers, everybody who has done anything with canning, is that it's really, really important that it tastes great before it goes into the jar. And this is another example. Some of the other examples I showed you were vegetables. This is a wild plum jam. So I went out and I foraged in our neighborhood here on the Butterfly Hill, and I got these plums. A really simple way to preserve fruit with only 2 ingredients. So you can always reference that on another video. But we are dealing with boiling water here, and you want to keep all children and pets, all of our little fur babies, out of the kitchen so that everybody is safe. As soon as this beeps, we are going to go ahead and get this out of the boil and put it right here on the side. Again, in review, you want 2 minutes to sterilize the jars. Once the food is in the jar, you have it filled and you have maintained the seal. It's really, really important, and I'll go over that really quickly, to make sure that the lid is sealed up. Here's our timer. All right, one of the big deals when getting this stuff out of a boil is to make sure that you're really well protected. You want to use your jar tongs. I don't know if you can see here, but all of my jars are upright. When the jars are upright, this is the best tool to use. And I'm just going to go ahead and grab the jar, secure it and get it on a closed surface nearby. Being really, really careful. This is boiling water. Everything is really hot. And a lot of times when doing this, there is a little bit of a splashback to be aware of. Getting the food into the jars. You need one of these. It's a little funnel that comes with most of the canning kits. And it does really, really make it easier getting the food into the jars. So I am going to grab a big spoon and just spoon this into the jar until it's full. It's really hard to gauge what jars and how much you're going to need, but the more you do this, the better you'll get at judging the jars. I personally always boil extra jars, just because nothing's more frustrating than having everything ready to go and not having enough jars. So too many is always better. So again, we're going to go ahead and just fill this, and once you get it filled to almost the rim of the jar, you want to go ahead and give it a couple of really good taps and let it settle. And now you can see that it has settled a little bit lower, so we can add a little bit more. All right, and if you can get a good visual on that, it does look a little over full in the funnel, but once you tap it down a couple of times, it works really well. Now, this is a really, really crucial part. In order to maintain a proper seal, the top of the jar lid needs to be perfectly dry. And now we have everything here off to the side. We're going to go ahead and grab one of these lids, and this is a mistake I made in the beginning. I killed all my lids. They have a rubber seal here, and it just needs to be heated up. So my grandmother, and luckily my aunt caught this, you hold it in the pot of boiling water for about 10 to 15 seconds to make sure that you soften up the seal. Once that's done, you need to get it on to the jar and get a ring on it. All right, give it a couple more taps. You don't have to tighten that ring down very tight. It will kind of seal down while it's in the boiling water. And now we're going to go ahead and we're going to boil this for 10 minutes. Once that's done, we're going to go ahead and bring it out and wait for the magic pop. I was kind of hoping that one of these jars would pop while we were on video, but of course it hasn't. You know that, and if you can come up here and get a little bit close, you can see here that there's a little dimple in the middle of every jar. And if I grab one of these jars that is already done, I hope you can see the difference. That this one is concave, this one is convex. So it's like kind of bumped out and bumped in. And as these jars cool, they will make this wonderful popping noise, and you know that your seal is intact. You want to make sure that your kitchen's clean, everything is clean, the jars are clean. You are going to sterilize your jars in boiling water, a full boil for 2 minutes, and then you're going to go ahead and use a funnel to fill your jars, making sure that you tap them down to make sure there are no air bubbles. And then you can boil the lid for about 10 to 15 seconds, which softens up that seal. And again, you want to make sure that the lid of the jar is completely clean. When you put that lid on, add the ring just on a soft tighten, and then you're going to go ahead and boil that for 10 minutes. And you want to make sure that it is completely in the water. You can go ahead and add a little bit more water into the pot if you need to, or you can go ahead and lay it down. Since there's only one left, we're going to go ahead and leave it like that. And I always set the timer for 10 minutes. And that's it.